Welcome to a new season of lap guides in the F4 and iRacing. My name's Bart, and today we'll be taking the FIF4 car around the Snetterton 200 circuit. Here's the hot lap. There is a massive bump on this model. No idea why. I know it's a bit of an older model, this track. But there is a massive bump about here that you cannot see. If you run on the right-hand half of the track and try and run up to the pit wall, which is the traditional thing to do in real life, some people say to, like, hide from the wind or get a toe off the wall or whatever. I mean, I think it's just shortest distance, to be honest with you. So at the last corner, holding it to the right like you would at Spa or somewhere like that. Don't do that on iRacing, because if you bounce on that bump, especially on this car, you lose a little bit. Not much, maybe 1 or 2 hundredths, but what's the point? All you have to do is go to the left, and you're going to the left anyway because you need to be on the left. So just a note, when you're about, see this gap in the wall on the right-hand side, try and be mid-track here. And that way you'll avoid this bump on the right. Cool. All right, so going into the first corner now. Riches, I believe. Yeah, Riches. So really tricky corner. Even though it's a high-speed corner, and usually those are quite simple, I think this one, because it's so long and there's not any runoff, it's quite unforgiving. Also keep in mind, there's no real exit here. There's a bit of an exit, but it's much more important to carry minimum speed in. So your priority here is how fast can how much speed can I take into the apex and then get on throttle. It doesn't have to be full throttle. It shouldn't really be full throttle. If you're getting to full throttle very quickly, you've probably overslowed the car. It shouldn't be easy to get back up to full. You should probably, like I said, picking up some throttle around the apex, which we'll get to in a second, around the middle of the corner, to just steady the car and pick up the speed, carry the momentum. But it should be a challenge to get back towards full throttle again once you hit the brakes. So you can see here, pretty late braking here, certainly later braking than the real car, which has a bit more power. You're going to be braking just before this last board on the left-hand side. Pretty much at it in this case. The reason why I've delayed the braking so much there is you don't want to be in early here. If you're in very early, you're going to, like I said, it's a very long corner. You're going to understeer and end up quite wide. So down to 5th. For me, it's between 5th and 6th in this car. I think 5th is slightly better and more consistent. I have been very quick through here in 6th, but yeah, I do think 5th is a little bit better, even with this, which is an open setup lap. Again, the car into the corner now, 5th gear. You can see my down change was quite delayed. The reason for that is because there's no reason to kill the speed really early. It's not one of those braking zones where I need maximum efficiency. I'll just wait on the downshift just to kind of delay the point at which I slow the car down. Also, continue that rotation a little bit later into the corner. Very soft brake, not very aggressive. Should be a nice little mound just to prepare the car for the entry. If you spike the brake very aggressively, you will get you'll slow the car down quite quickly, get a bit of peak, but it'll upset the car on entry. All the weight will go into the nose. So just try and make a smooth, soft brake there, carry the speed in. Just get the car rotated, try to get this angle here, and that's kind of your message. Okay, now I'm on this inside curb, I can start picking up throttle. You can see pick up about 78% throttle now on full. And that's pretty much on the limit there. Forced out to the outside curb. It shouldn't be easy. And the classic thing for Snet turn 1 is always this second apex, if you want to call it that. You shouldn't be at the inside white line here. If you've done that, then you haven't gotten throttle early enough, and you haven't forced the car wide with the speed you've carried through the corner. and just try and be smooth and steer on the exit. You can get a little bit there just by being really nice and smooth. All right, braking hard for turn 2. Pretty standard hairpin this. It gets a little bit more complicated with this specific layout. But braking is very similar to turn 1. You got this one board on the left. You brake it just a bit before that. You can see about 10, 15 meters before that. Very high brake pressure. Again, very basic hairpin, kind of just braking efficiency is king here. So if you can brake a little bit later, brake very efficiently, so that means, stopping the car as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible in a small distance, you're going to gain a lot on your competitors. Smash the brake, very high pressure, 95%, something like that. Maintain that pressure fairly flat, maybe come off a little bit just as you lose the downforce, and that comes off the car. And once you've got the car slowed down enough, drop off the brake into second gear, rotate the car. Very important not to be early. If you brake early, you'll get punished massively. If you brake a little bit late, it's not too bad. Please be on the side of braking too late here. Never, ever, ever be able to turn into the corner earlier than this, pretty much. If you turn in earlier and you end up on this inside curve quite early, it gives you a very poor angle, especially on this layout. Even if you're running the normal layout, it's true. But it's also true on this one, which is Snetterton 200 track, where we run this turn 2 and turn 3 is this little kink onto the back straight, which is very important, obviously, because that exit is for a long straight and worth a lot of lap time, and is going to be probably the main overtaking opportunity as well. So, with that in mind, very late braking, efficient off the brakes. You can see I turned just behind the rubber here, where the rubber is on the track. Drop the brake, get the car rotated nicely on the wheel, meet kind of around where the end of the sausage curb is. Again, this is pretty good on this lap, but you don't want to be earlier. I like to get a little bit of throttle on kind of before you really feel like you can get to throttle, in terms of before you can really be fully comfortable getting to full throttle. You should pick up a little bit of throttle here just because you're so slow in this corner, and kind of spool the turbo a little bit. It's nice to get a little bit of throttle on early. You can see, just kind of pick up the lag in the car, get the rear moving, make the car more dynamic, pick up to about 70% throttle, and then just come out of the steering lock as you get the torque, as you go to the higher end of the RPMs, go to full throttle here, and try and be smooth on the steering. So with that in mind, the late braking is going to do most of our positioning here. Our positioning B, we want to take the left flat. So how can we take the left flat but get on throttle as early as possible is kind of what we're doing here, okay? So the first part of that, like I said, very late, very efficient braking for turn 2. You can see here, car's pointing in this direction. In a GT, this would be trouble, but we're in a single-seater, so we're light enough to be able to kind of get to full throttle here and rotate the car back to the right, back to the left. Quite grippy. Use that curb. Other thing I would say is just be really smooth on the steering, but always try to push this exit, okay? How early can I get on throttle there? How late can I brake for turn 2? Those two things are really important because they give you a better angle and better positioning for that entry. If you brake very early there, you're going to really compromise your ability to get a good exit onto the straight. And you need to always be thinking, how can I get a better exit out of there as well? And you can see just trying to be nice on the steering, not upsetting the car. Because you have a little moment, it carries on down the straight as well. So even if you're flat, but you're kind of drifting on the exit, again, that's going to carry down the straight, that lost momentum as well. All right, so flat out now down the straight. Not much going on here, just waiting, making sure we're on the right-hand side of the track on the white line before we go under the bridge here. So tricky part of the track, really fun now, going to the traditional last sector of Snetterton. One of my favorite pieces of racetrack in the world. So first things first, turn before you brake. And you're going to be turning around this one board again before the shadow of the bridge. Try not to use this as a reference too much because obviously shadows change, even on iRacing with different time of day and clouds and so on and so on. So turning off this one board pretty much, braking, you're going to be in a diagonal, pointing. You've got this building if you want as a reference. I wouldn't use that as a reference. I'm certainly looking into here at the moment, the left-hand apex curve. My feeling is just that you can brake in a straight line here. If you brake in a straight line, the way to think about it is then you're kind of going to be quite delayed on your turn in, and it's quite easy to lock fronts initially because you're going over here on this side of the track. So that's quite tricky. The other thing as well is, can I not just turn more and then brake and get the lock off more? Maybe someone like Brooklyn, something like that. The problem with turning in more here is that the car, you haven't really got enough grip at this point. The car's too loaded. You haven't got enough time. If you do that and then brake, you're either going to miss the corner you're going to end up too tight and kind of go over this grass, or you're going to, what's more likely is you're just going to lose control of the car because it's going to be loaded, you're going to hit the brakes, and the car's going to move around or lock up and go straight. So we're kind of just trying to do the best we can here, which is I can kind of just position the car in a little bit just to kind of get us more towards, there's also camber here on the left, which is the other reason. There's grip, there's rubber, and there's also camber on the left, and it's less distance. That's kind of why we're trying to get it down to the left-hand side a little bit, and then we're trying to get some weight out. We're trying to get the steering off a little bit as we hit the brake, and hit high pressure here. See, not a very heavy brake for me, kind of a medium brake. Okay, down to fourth gear, and then I'm going to come off a bit as I go through the left. You can't keep braking here. Again, this is very much a thing of picture the friction circle, if you know what that is. Basically, you've got X amount of grip, and you can only use some of it for turning and some of it for braking. So if you hold max brake pressure and you start turning, you lock up. And if you're turning through the middle of the corner and you start braking or accelerating, you spin or lose control of the car. And that's just because you're trying to maximize the grip at different points. When you combine brake and steering or throttle and steering, it's very easy to exceed that amount of grip that you would normally have when you're braking or accelerating in a straight line or turning without doing either input on the pedals. So with that in mind, as we have to rotate the car through here, the car just becomes more loaded. So there's more lateral load kind of going through the side of the car. The tires being used a lot more as we turn through the left here. You have to come out of the brake. So watch my brake pressure on the left. It just drops. And this is a feel thing with this corner. Very tricky for beginners, but it's a feel thing. You have to be braking all the way through. You have to. But you just got to prioritize, okay, now I'm going to rotate the car a little bit more. I'm going to start turning a little bit more, so I'm going to come out of the brake. It is more important in this corner to make sure you are all the way to the left for positioning for this exit, which is a big exit as well. Really underrated. And it's also important just for the grip and the you get from being in this camber, the speed you can carry through here, and the distance as well. So all those reasons, you need to prioritize that over going for braking. So if you go, I'm going to brake a little bit more and go out to here and then turn, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You need to be inside with the camber here. So again, with that in mind, come out of the brake a little bit, just so I have to turn the car, put a bit of a lock on. But you see here, I can get the lock off because I've done my rotation now. Then I hit the brake again, a second peak. So the brake shape here is going to have two peaks. It's going to be peak, down, then up again. Brake. It's kind of a dab on the brake here to medium brake pressure. Down to third gear. Get the car nicely rotated. Try and get as close to the sausage curve as possible. Early throttle pickup. So here, part throttle just kind of settled the rear. Ideally, if I could have been on full throttle on this inside curve, that would have been perfect. But it's trying to manage that while also carrying the speed. If you underpush that entry through the left, you lose a lot of time. If you're late on throttle here, you lose a lot of time. You just got to kind of try and manage it as best as possible. How much speed and how much can you push that entry through the previous left while also still getting on throttle about here? Okay, let the car out. The car's going to move around a little bit, especially with the setup I have here. It's quite loose, low on rear wing. You're going to want to come out of the steering on throttle. Use all this curb. You don't get a penalty for it. It doesn't really bottom out too much. So just try and use this curb. Straight up the wheel. Get the car nice and settled. Go into the bomb hole now. So this corner is not really a corner in this car. Just be smooth on the steering. You should not be lifting through here. It's flat in the dry. Just try and, the only thing I'd say is don't turn in too early and try to meet the end of the curb where we are here. Try and be in line with that. That's the best way to get the kind of least line of resistance through here. Or the line of least resistance. Straight up the wheel on the exit. Use the exit curb might as well. Just makes it a bit less load in the car. Okay, turning in now for Coram. Really cool corner. This super long right-hander. Stay on the left here. This is a corner people get really wrong. For what it is, too wrong, too often. So hanging in the car on the left-hand side, you can see where the sign is on the right. I'm going to start moving the car over. All the rubber, by the way, is near the inside of the track. So you don't really want to go too wide and dry. It also gets a bit bumpy and off camber. So you're going to slowly bring the car towards the inside. So by the time you reach this red and white curve where this starts on the right, you can see we're within like a car width of the inside line. That's about right. The car should meet the white line around here. We just want to be maximum a car, say half a car width away from the inside at this point. And I have to kind of lift out, you can see here, lift out the throttle to try and keep the nose nice and tucked into the right-hand side. You can let it go out a bit further, but you're probably not going to be able to bring it back to the right-hand side in that scenario. Okay, then braking down to third gear. Focusing on a good exit out of here. So this is quite a tricky one, right? Because you're never straight. So against that idea of the friction circle, I can't, hit max brake pressure and turn a lot at the same time. I have to manage both. So as I'm turning, I have to come out of the throttle, kind of keep the car in near the white line. We really want to get it straight for this length coming up here, this bit before the last bollard. If we can be straight for this point, we have a little straight brake here. We get a little bit more brake efficiency done, which allows us to brake later. But not only that, that little dab of brake, a bit like the previous section we were talking about, it actually helps put some weight on the front of the car. It makes the car more dynamic when you turn in. It lets it rotate quite quickly, and it helps get a better exit. And it also gives you a bit more confidence to push the whole section beforehand as well. And then you also got the fact we're just opening up the track. So with all that, that's kind of your aim. So building backwards from that, again, trying to keep the car within about half a car width here. It's gonna change from lap to lap. You want to carry as much speed as possible through a corner. It is a long corner. You don't want to just lift out very early. You lose a lot of lap time. However, like I said, keep the car close to the white line. The white line on the inside. So start feeding into the braking now around this third last bollard. You're going to start braking. It's generally a good reference, real life or in the sim, for roughly where you want to be braking or somewhere to judge your braking from. It's a very soft brake at first because, again, we're turning a lot here. We're very loaded. So it's going to be a very soft brake. You're going to ramp into the brake pedal, so build up your brake pressure. Then as you get it straightened up here, the main thing is not getting the car out of control massively as you start braking in that section. If you do that, that's when you get put out of line and you have a big moment. So just trying to feed the brake, keep the car under control, keep to the right, build up the brake pressure. Again, have that peak. You can see at the bottom left. Look, I hit quite a lot of brake pressure now just before I turn in. Down to third. Use that rotation from that stab at the brake. And nice early throttle pickup here on the inside curb. Use all the runoff here. Very flat on the sim. Focus on your exit. Get the car on the right here. Then move over to the middle of the track. And that's the end of your lap at Snetterton 200. So that takes us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section below. And you can also find the Coach Dave Academy Discord, where you can book sessions with people like me and all the other fantastic coaches at CDA. My name is Bart, and I'll see you next week. See ya.